Vous savez, Cachemire, c'est un petit royaume. Ce petit royaume qui est discuté par l'Inde, Pakistan, la Chine de l'autre côté. Et ce petit pays est un pays très riche. Et c'est pour cela qu'il ressemble beaucoup à l'Afrique. Parce que l'Afrique est aujourd'hui la chasse gardée des plus forts, des Occidentaux qui viennent, ils préfèrent l'Afrique parce qu'ils veulent aller piller les richesses. C'est donc ce Cachemire qui aussi renferme beaucoup de richesses et cela fait que sa paix est difficile parce qu'il est attaqué de part et d'autre. Mais notre combat est ensemble. Nous allons combattre ensemble pour que ce pays soit libéré. Alors, je vous passe la parole.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Princess McLean. I would like to pay my gratitude to OCAPROCE and the Madam. Her commitment with the human rights, and especially every year she organized international women rights conferences. That is her commitment and brave decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not speak just thematically what is the rights of the women, but its history, that women struggled since 16th century. Then the awareness of the rights arose in the mind of the people. But unfortunately, the women were not recognized as an equal human being. And even then, the European continent recognizing the women's rights even in Switzerland in 1973, the women were able to cast their vote. And many continents, especially in South Asia, where there is feudalism, colonialism, and everything is there, which is actually suppress the human rights. You people can imagine what kind of a rights for the woman is ensured, where the man is superior and women considered to be inferior. And there are many myths, and those myths are still continue. Even then, there are some areas or countries, they claim to be a democratic. But in the Ukrainian war, we have seen the women are more sufferer. And in the conflict zones, the women are more and more sufferers. And women are facing discrimination just for the occupier want to discriminate the women. But the brave people like Nelson Mandela, and especially it is the credit to the African nations who stood against the decolonization, colonization, and ultimately they create an atmosphere that women and men are equal. There should be no gender discriminations. But we endorse that there are many places like in Middle East, in South Asia, women are still suffering, facing discrimination on the basis of gender. And the upper class, that is called the ruling class, did not consider to be an equal, although the ruling class recognized their mothers, their sisters, but they are not ready to amend those discriminatory clauses in the constitutions which actually suppress the women. And the participation, like there are many countries, they claim to be that they are considered the gender, are believing the gender equality, but still we can see there are many religions also claim that we believe human beings, but in their societies they are not considered. They are not ready to consider that woman is also falling in the category of human being. That's why in 21st century there are some countries who allow the woman just for the driving car, and they cannot participate in the election. Just the ruling class or the upper class women can be the ministers, the prime ministers, but every woman has not enjoyed such kind of events. In Pakistan, in Kashmir, everywhere. So this type of conferences actually create awareness and encourage the women so that they should fight for their rights themselves, and those men who believe in gender equality, they should stand with the women. And first, they should start from their homes, not just for the preaching others, but they should act like a human being in their houses. When they start from the houses, it creates an atmosphere, and the other women and other men also seek some kind of education, some kind of awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, the right to equality, equal treatment under the law and in the society is very necessary until and unless the countries like those who are the member of the United Nations and accept the United Nations International Human Rights Charters, we should unitedly put pressure on those and especially ask them that those women, those areas which is falling in the category of the war zone, like in Kashmir, both the sides, whether it's under the Pakistani occupation or the Indian administrations, our women are facing worse kind of a discrimination by the military, by the intelligence agencies, by the militants, by the religious oligarchs, and they are still in 21st century, verbally not ready to recognize the women equal rights. So I should appeal to the human rights defenders that they should consider the Kashmiri women also, because since 1948 we are forcibly divided. We are facing worse kind of a slavery, and our rights is not recognized as equal. And some of the installed land officers rule us, and they are not ready to honor our identity. not honor our human rights. But still this world actually is world of the trades, world of the markets. All the governments, they are looking for their business, but they are not looking the human rights. They are not actually asking those countries who are grossly involved in human rights violations to respect the human rights. It is a nepotism, pick and choose. If that country is sued, European, that country, they close the eyes. But if any country who is there to say something regarding their own independence, so here they send many forces, bombard their, displace them, and now the right-wingers, these are the pressure group of the oligarchs in the name of democracy who are elected. These in Europe, last week in London, there was a great demonstrations which is asking all the immigrants, all the non-Europeans should leave this continent. What they are saying, but they are raising the slogans. It's not only one in 21st century, but they've forgotten that it is the United Kingdom who colonized many of the countries and continents. And it is the United Kingdom who actually displaced the Iraqis, the Libyans, the Syrians. But the oligarchs is not ready to convince their people that these are those victims who came here and took asylum because it is due to, they are suffered due to our policies. So I think that's time. Thank you. And I think this is the very alarming situation in Europe. And my humble request to all the human rights defenders to consider this situation, because it is a civil war-like situation in Great Britain, in France, and there are other. But in South Asian, the men have no rights. You can imagine what kind of a human rights is our women enjoying. So let us unite, fight for tyranny, fight against slavery, fight for the rights of the equal rights of the human being. I thank you, Mother. Thank you.